Hello, welcome back to Essential Life Skills Workshop by Mrs. Spasm, where you get a master's level education from a very spastic person. And I'm going to just do the full screen today, and hopefully you can't see me trying to fix my hair. I got a haircut and I'm still trying to figure out if I like it. Anyway, so this is what we're going to be doing. This is probably my favorite Um, part of the workshop is the foundational principles of organizing. And I want you to not get overwhelmed. Please remember, you can do this at your own pace. You can stop, you can rewind, you can fast forward, you can do this however you want to do. This is the taco bar. You pick what you want. So, foundational principles of organizing. Usually when I'm teaching a class, this is when we have a discussion about understanding human behavior. Because if you would have watched Marie Kondo's Tidying Up and then an episode of Hoarders, just to get one end of the spectrum to the other of what organizing is. Okay, so understanding human behavior. Um, Everybody was all over this Mrs. Kondo when her book first came out. And I mean, everybody was talking about it. And I tend to be somebody that does not get on bandwagons. And so I got, did just like a quick read through at the library because I wasn't going to buy it. Um, and it's interesting that no matter what organizer that you work with, the really good ones, those of us that are really good, are going to have the same basic principles. Fast forward to 2025, and Marie has changed some of her tidying up because she's actually had children now. And so that kind of maybe, send a seismic shock to her system, that things are not necessarily always clean and tidy because of your kids. Now, in her defense, because that is my superpower, I can prosecute and defend. As her defense lawyer, she is, and I wish I was more educated on if she were from Japan or from China, but we know that those Asian countries are very short on space. And so she is going to tackle and organize and utilize that space that she has the best she can. So I totally get what she was going for. My favorite meme, I think I shared last time, though, was I came home to a stack of bills on the table. They don't bring me joy, so I'm going to toss them out. So I thought that just makes me laugh every time I see it. So on this other side, we have um, hoarding. Hoarding is a psychological issue, and if you've gone and watched more than one episode of that show, it's always interesting when they send the psychologist in and they start telling their person's story. The person has lost something very tragically. Either they weren't expecting it, or as a young child, or, whatever it was, there has been a loss there. And so the reason to hold on to stuff is that psychological need to be in control and to be able to hold on to their stuff. And I did sit through, I think I'll repeat this too, but I did sit at a library, I don't know, whatever it was. They invited a lady from the Chicago area that was on an episode of Hoarders. And she said, the thing that you don't see, obviously, we know this now on TV, the thing that you don't see is that she's got about 50 people working with her to get that place cleaned up. And that they may say that it's only a week or whatever, but it might be longer than that. And so um, there are at least 100 people on site, either organizers or cleaners or whatever. And to be able to take the house from what you see here in the screen to a place that people can um, have a tidier house. Um, they always provide, which I do appreciate, counseling. Some people that take that counseling can start to understand why they hoard, and some people don't take that counseling, and so things just kind of turn right back to where it was. And so I had had a client in the past that was borderline TV show hoarding, and I learned that lesson early in my career that if people are not ready for the change, um, and letting go of things and getting things, organized and whatever, if they're not ready for anything, if they're not ready to quit smoking, if they're not ready to date, if I mean whatever it is, if they're not ready, it's not going to happen. Because human behavior isn't a light switch. Sometimes you can have like aha moments and then you can begin to change your habits, but there's no magic pill when it comes to human behavior. So that's always just an interesting discussion that I have with my students when we are doing this class. So, um, I have a toolbar that is in my way, so I cannot even see. Oh, I think it just says organizing. Okay, so we talked about that. All right, and that is a spectrum. So before we even start, we do some fact finding. Going back to the spectrum, right? You may like blue, but you may like the lighter blue, and I'm in the dark, and I like the darker blue. So what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be doing fact finding, which is before you start to ask yourself questions. What activities do you want to happen in this room? Why is it disorganized? Is it difficult to maintain when you clean it up? Um, before you even start the organizing project, this process that you start is to gather information. And I don't know. Oh, yes, this next one. Examining expectations. So, some people, this is a messy desk. Some people know exactly where to go to find the file for Mrs. Phalange's file. And they've got everything where they know it needs to be. And if it looks messy to one person, it might not look messy to the person whose desk this is. This particular example for me with the yellow desk area, I think is a fantastic way to utilize space. However, for me, it's still a little too messy, cluttered, not messy, but cluttered. Um, you can never be cluttered with books, I know, but it's just a little, it's too much for me. So you have to decide, are you fine with this Miss Phalange file desk, or do you want this mustard yellow room? And does that appeal to you? Or are you really, really into minimalization? Um, or do you really want it to just be Martha Stewart magazine worthy? And so back to the spectrum, you're asking these questions that I posed earlier. And so some of that is going to be, how much do you care if something is completely tidy and in its place? But then asking questions such as, what activities are going to happen in this room? And as we get further into today's lesson, you'll understand this more. But when we had one house, my kids were little, they knew that the front room was for reading and doing puzzles. No toys, no coloring. Coloring, all that messy stuff could be in the kitchen. But I know that sounded so harsh, so send me to mom jail. But I needed one place that only had to be vacuumed and dusted, because I love to sit and read. or have a room that was just not cluttery, so that I could just meditate and be quiet and not have, there wasn't a TV in there. It was just the very front room that you walk into when you walk in the front door. So they knew that that's what happened in that room. And then they knew that the kitchen was free for all. This is where we ate. This is where we played board games sometimes if we weren't in the other room. This is where they can color and paint and do all that stuff. The TV was in the room next door to the kitchen. And so it's just a matter of figuring out what activities do you want to be happening in this room? Why is it disorganized? Sometimes it's just, I've got 6 boys, enough said. Is it difficult to maintain when you do clean it up? And so, if that is a yes, then as we have this discussion today, hopefully some of these answers will come along to you. So again, examining expectations. Are you good with Miss Phalange? Are you okay with the mustard? Do you want complete, tidiness, or are you wanting magazine worthy perfect all the time? So, this is an example of before and after. This is an example of somebody that, well, as you can see on the one side, they just kind of shoved everything in there. But it's there are some things in our homes that are already dictated to us, right? So we know that that closet right beside the bathroom is probably where we're going to want the towels and the extra toilet paper and things like that. And so knowing where you are right now and deciding where you want to be is going to be really, really important, because you may be fine with this linen closet. Um, and you may really, really want the other side with all the baskets. But to get from the left side to the right side, you are going to need, or flip, if that slipped, I don't know if it slipped for you, but you are going to need a plan, and you're going to need to know exactly what goes in there. Because if you notice really quick on the bottom, that could be toilet paper, but I'm thinking that it's kitty litter. And so the kitty litter does not show up in the right side. The toilet paper and things like that, I can see that happening. But anyway, so that is the most important thing. Know where you are right now and why, and then know where we're going. Where are we going with this? So we're gonna plan. When we moved in 2020, we had the opportunity, because things were moving so slow. It was after COVID had hit the US. And then I was able to have the specs of the house that we were buying, and I was getting an office, and I was so excited. And then I found an app online that let me put in the specs and then let me put in furniture and then just kind of plan my office on paper or on the app, instead of getting here and then trying to figure out what's going to fit and what's not going to fit and how I want it laid out. And so a lot of what you can get done without breaking a sweat is sitting down and having a plan. What is the purpose of this drawer? Is this where all the silverware is going to go? Great. What is the purpose of this room? Is this the guest room? Is this the master bedroom? I was going to say, and what activities happen there, but that's neither here nor there. So figuring out the purpose of the room. Like I said, bathrooms dictated. What's the purpose of a backpack? What's the purpose of each file folder drawer? What's the purpose of each cabinet? Where do you want your stuff? What's the purpose of the garage or the extra shed in the back? What's the purpose of the closet in your room? And some of these are kind of silly questions. Well, the closet in my room is to hang up my clothes. And so it sounds easy on some of these things, but then when you get to like your backpack, like what's the purpose of your backpack? Is your backpack to Hold your books, which are not hopefully too heavy so that they don't give you bad posture. What's the purpose of each pocket? You just have to figure out where you want things to go. In terms of the kitchen, if you come to my kitchen, I have knee and back issues, and so some of my things like pans and pots and stuff like that are up at eye level rather than down in the cupboards, because it's easier for me to pull them out that way. Um, Sometimes I've been in a house where I've had the silverware in one drawer, and then 6 months later, I'm like, this is not working, and so we're gonna move it to this other drawer, which is usually the tip here is the drawer closest to the dishwasher is where you probably want your um, utensils. So yeah, it's about planning. You're gonna have this closet. We're gonna go through the steps with this closet. You sketch the closet. This is what a closet in your house looks like, okay? You're gonna visualize. You're gonna visualize it empty, but sketch the photo, sketch it, take a picture, draw it, whatever, like whatever, however you need to do this. There are apps that will allow you to do this. Room app is the one, I think it's just called Room Planner. That is the one that I used, and then because I paid for it, I was able to take 3D pictures and save them to my phone. And so that's what this is. I made up a closet. And so I'm gonna look in this closet, and this closet is right off of the garage. And I'm like, what is this closet for? What is the purpose of this space that I'm seeing right there? So you visualize it empty first because that can be very soothing, especially for those of us with ADHD. Looking at a blank space like this is just really hitting on my dopamine today. So then what's the purpose of this closet? You're like, okay, you know what? I've got a little bit of holiday stuff. Not those of you that have a whole trailer of Christmas decorations. But maybe you just have flags that you put out, every holiday or whatever. So holiday's going to go here. I want my cleaning products here. I can put the board games here because they're not fitting in other parts of the house. Beach towels there, the kids' balls and exercise equipment. More cleaning stuff, and then there's that shelf goes higher. So mop, broom, vacuum, whatever can go there. And so you come up with this plan, and you haven't even broken a sweat yet, and we are already organizing. So here are some things that once you get that plan ready, then you need to designate some areas. Um, what you're going to dump, which is a trash can. So you have a trash sack or a trash can there. What you're going to donate, which goes into some donate boxes. All of those Amazon boxes that you have, really good to put things in to donate. I personally have a plastic tote that I keep at the stairs of the garage. And once that is filled, my son drops that off at Goodwill, or unless it's a specific thing, sometimes they go to the shelters and stuff. But so have a trash can, have a box to donate. If you are into selling stuff, then have a box of stuff that you're going to put on Marketplace. Um, You want a basket that is for delivering. And when I say delivering, I mean Johnny's cleaning out his room, and under his bed are 4 forks, a knife, a spoon, and 5 plates. Those do not belong in Johnny's room. So we need a basket to be able to take all that stuff and put it, and maybe it's been under his bed long enough that it's moldy and you don't even want it in your dishwasher, and so you can trash it. But if it's things that are in a room that aren't supposed to be in the room, have a basket so it's easier to pick it up and take it around. You can actually take an entire basket, laundry basket, around to each of the room and put stuff back in where it's supposed to go. And then what are you going to keep in that room? And that can usually just be a spot on the floor. So again, What are you going to dump? What are you going to donate? Please remember food pantries and shelters. What are you going to deal, deliver, and detain? Because, I tried keeping all the letters. So, principle five, putting like things with like things. If you had watched number four with the grocery basket challenge, you would have seen that that was the first step that I did. I put like things with like things. This also goes with not just like you're going to put all of your, in that particular example, if you watched it, I was putting things, not just the boxes of cereal or the boxes of crackers, but also by size. And so we can get to that more later too. But basically, this is my first name. And if you can remember my name, you can remember the 6 steps to organizing. Now, yes, you have to plan, and then you got a PS. PS, Stacy, like postal script. Look it up. History's fun. Um, PS is planning and then making space for all of those areas that you're going to dump, donate, keep in the room, whatever. Now, if you can remember this, my name's Stacy, then you can remember the 6 steps that it's going to take to organize stuff. So, you zone or you have your space. So you've got everything ready. And then the first 3 letters of my name kind of go together. The sorting, the tossing, and the assigning. So let's say that you dump out a junk drawer on the kitchen table. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start sorting. You're going to toss what needs to be tossed into the trash. But when you sort and then you assign each of those things. And so this junk drawer, you have already came up with the plan that that little tiny skinny, I don't even know why it's there at the end of the cabinets in the kitchen junk drawer, that you want those things that you need all the time, tape and scissors and whatever. It's a tiny drawer, but you know what you want in there. And so everything that you've just dumped out, you are sorting, you're pulling out the trash, and sometimes trash could be used Kleenex. It could be old receipts, it could be whatever. So everything you're gonna pick up, you're gonna sort by tossing it or assigning it into one of those categories that we talked about earlier. And then you're gonna have a pile of this stuff before you put it back in that drawer or in that box. Because a lot of times people, did I even spell that right? That looks weird. Containerize. I have never let myself go into the Container Store. Why, you might ask? Well, alcoholics really shouldn't be going into bars and liquor stores. I am addicted to organizing, and the Container Store, I think, would send me over the top. My heart might literally explode. But also, and I've seen this and I've had these conversations, especially with older people. In January, you walk into Target or Walmart, and the first thing that you see are all the organizing bins and different little fun containers because January is when everybody starts, they're going to start off the new year, they're going to get organized, whatever. The problem is that I might buy the container before I even know exactly what I need. And so that's why this is a process and not a project. So you've done the planning, you've sorted, tossed, and assigned, and now you know what you want in this drawer or this cabinet or whatever. But you're also seeing that in this example, you really ended up with only one Q-tip, so you don't need that big, huge jar for all those Q-tips. However, you had a small toy box and all the toys are falling out. And they are toys that you've already sorted and that you cannot get rid of because your children will cry forever and ever and not ever stop crying. And so the point is to know what you have before you buy the container. Then you get to go have fun and go to the Container Store. I still won't let myself do that. But this next one, I'm gonna be honest. Back in the day when Oprah had on, all of her people, she had Peter Walsh, who was a professional organizer, and she had Julie Morgenstern, who was a professional organizer, and then Nate Burkus, who I love you. Oh, Nate, I love you, and Jeremiah so much. Okay. So Julie Morgenstern's steps were space instead of Stacy. It was so close though. But then the more that I worked with people, the more that I realized that her space was not necessarily the the things that were working for most of my clients, because I seemed to find the clients that needed me most and the ones I connected with the most were those that were neurodivergent. And so space might work for other people. I don't even know if the book is still there, but her name is Julie Morgenstern. And so I do not copyright and I do not plagiarize. But what I did was change this, so I think hers was sort, purge, assign, containerize. And I do not remember what her E was. My E, because I have an E in my name, there's an ace in my middle, is to exercise it. Just like I said before, we've been in a house before. I had the utensils in one drawer, and then 6 months later, I'm like, this is not working. And I can make those changes. And so get something organized the way that you think after all the planning and the deciding and the questions and everything. And then work it, like exercise it, work out. If it's not working for you, you have that right to change it, to figure out, you know what, this is just, I'm having to reach up too many times to grab this particular spice, or I'm having to bend down too much to grab this particular game or book that little Johnny wants me to read all the time. And so the thing that I'm most excited about when I do this, the or organizing in 6 steps is my name, because I feel so passionate about the why, which is you. I give out the taco bar and all the ingredients. You're going to be watching this. You're either going to roll your eyes or you're going to laugh and love it or whatever, but you take from it what works for you. I've been in way too many women's meetings at church or um, different trainings or different whatever, listening to podcasts or watching, TVs or seeing interviews, and people will state things that work for them and they state it like it is completely etched in stone. And I'm like, that does not work for everybody. Was sitting in a meeting once where a woman said, you make one meal, and if your children do not eat it, they go to bed hungry. Okay, she said this about 10 years ago, so 2015. She didn't say this in 2055. She's still living like it, not 2055, sorry, 1955. She's still living like it's 1955, but also that doesn't apply to me because I have a beautiful, wonderful, amazing young man's son who is autistic, and if I made something with, oh, I don't know, asparagus and lemon and whatever, he's not going to eat it, but he's also not going to go to bed hungry because, hello, autistic, as I just learned from my daughter. She used that word. I liked it. So this is about you. This is what is going to work for you after you have made a plan, zoned the areas for the moment of the project. And sometimes the project and the process may take a long time. If you're doing a very large area, like a closet, like a big closet, or even a garage, like, come on, give yourself grace and give yourself space and time to be able to go through these steps, because you want to do it right, because if you're like me, you don't want to keep doing it over and over and over again. So the reinforcement reminders, remember those things that they put in the concrete walls to reinforce the walls. Um, Foundational principle number 8, I told you I would talk about PBJs. PBJs are to, oh my goodness, I just forgot. Um, oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, this is what's happening with my brain, and it's very embarrassing. I know the J is for jam. You want to have music on. Um, I will have to come back and in the description of this, I will put what the P and the B is for because I'm having major brain fart right now. But studies have shown when music is on, people are more motivated to get things done. That might have been do it in your pajamas or your sweats and then turn on music. I will clarify this in the description of the video. Um, but music inspires, music moves, music is powerful, music. Don't get me started. I love music. This is why music is in stores to calm, to hit dopamine, to make you think that you really do want to keep buying those nasty tasting snack cakes that don't taste like they did when I was growing up. Um, when you start a process as far as physically doing the zoning, the sorting, the tossing, the signing part, um, turn on some music and just have fun with it and get lost in it. Um, oh, hi. So, remember when I told you I was spastic? Well, I'm spastic. So, your PBJ is you're going to prepare, but you're going to brace for setbacks. That's what it was. Hello, bracing for setbacks. Um, we know because we've watched our partners sometimes or boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever. If they go in and they start to fix something in the bathroom sink, right? How many trips do they end up taking to Home Depot or Lowe's? Shout out to both of those in case you want to give me any money. Um, Brace for setbacks. You may have something completely sketched out and you've got your zones, and then you know what you need to containerize. You really need to just be prepared. It's not going to go perfectly. I want to say something before I forget about the containerizing too, is you have to measure the area. You measure the depth of the shelf in the closet because you don't want to buy some cute container or basket and have it sticking out 3 inches from the depth of that closet. So it's super important. I can't believe I forgot that, but this is the kind of day I'm having, right? So you are going to prepare, brace, and jam. So that's the PBJ. I should just keep looking. Okay. Self-assessment, and then the homework question. Okay, that is how you can organize something in 6, 8 steps. Plan, zone it out. Stacy is the Z part, which kind of makes sense now. The STA is Z's. This is since I'm half asleep. So you're gonna plan. You're gonna zone out, zone your areas, and then you're gonna sort, toss, assign. Then you're gonna know what size containers that you need, and then you're gonna double check with where those containers are gonna go to make sure that they fit the width and the height and the depth. And then you're gonna work it. You're gonna get something organized, and you're just gonna work it out. And it may take you 2 weeks. It may take you a year that you just are like, yeah, this needs to be changed. This is not working as I thought that it would work. Um, when I originally did my, hello, I'm sitting in it right now, my office. I knew I wanted an L-shaped desk with the computer on the corner because I work that way. The way I set it up turned out to be not a good idea because I have a beautiful, huge window that lets me look outside to the green grass and the blue skies. And today it's overcast, so blah. But when I had the desk turned to where the computer caught the reflection and the light in the middle of the day from outside, I wasn't able to work properly. So that didn't take very long. That was like a week of being in the office before I was like, I've got to flip this desk a little bit. So, anyway, let me stop sharing and come back to, oh, yeah, hi, in case you haven't seen this. If you have the whole time, then you know that I'm a bat stinky crazy. So, yeah, that's Stacy. That is organizing, getting stuff organized. And if you are a mom with children, I would say so that you can get something out of this, organize like a drawer or a space in your closet that the children don't know about or can't go, are not supposed to go into. If you're a dad, do that with the toolbox in the garage. Um, if you're a student, I mean, just like it doesn't have to be huge projects at first. You can start with these little projects. Like I think I was talking about the things I've been seeing on Instagram of just take 10 minutes a day to declutter and then, I would be sitting there like, this is where I put that book, and then I'd sit down and finish reading it and whatever. And so sometimes that might work for you, and sometimes if it doesn't, that's okay. There is no rush to this. The idea is that you get the education and the practice of these principles so that you can then do this for your whole house. You do this, moms, for your drawer in your bathroom that the kids aren't supposed to go into or don't go into. You get really good at it. Um, then you can use these exact same steps to teach your kids to go through their toys. And always remember that really, really good toys can always go to shelters. My social worker self is like, take it to the shelters. If you have extra linens, towels, take them to the shelters. Um, so yeah, anyway, that is the organizing 101. Stacy, sort, toss, assign, containerized, remember to measure, know what you need, work it out, exercise it, and then in the end, it's what's going to work for you. Because like I said before, I could come in and I can completely organize your kitchen, and then you walk in and go, no, this doesn't work. This is stupid. I don't like this. Because I'm organizing it based on what I like and not organizing it for you. Um, that was the difference that made me different as a professional organizer is I got to know my clients so that I didn't have them and teach them these things that were too above, that they were not interested in magazine Martha Stewart worthy homes. Some of them were like, I'm totally fine with the phalange way to do things, but I just need some help getting things started that way. So, anyway, I can talk all day. It's time to go. It has been nice to see you, and I hope that you come back for the next lessons that are following. They're going to be time management. And what was it? Because I'm having a brain day. Sorry. We've already done the organizing, so space, time, money, and then learn a lot about organizing our actual heads and brains for those of us that are neurodivergent. So I hope that this has been helpful. Please leave comments, and I will keep recording and keep posting. All right, talk to you later.